Hi everyone, thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 453 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Yesterday morning, units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine consisting of Russian citizens, Russian Volunteer Corps, and Freedom of Russia Legion announced that they had crossed the border and were liberating the settlements of Belgorod Oblast from the current Russian authorities, reports Ukrainska Pravda. They took several border villages in the Gaivoran district under their control, but stated that their aim is the liberation of all of Russia from Putin's regime. Vyacheslav Gladkov, the governor of Belgorod Oblast, claimed that a reconnaissance and sabotage group of the armed forces of Ukraine entered the territory of the Gaivoran district. He said that most of the local residents evacuated. The Russian president's press secretary Dmitry Peskov said that Vladimir Putin was informed of the breach of the Russian border in Belgorod Oblast. Peskov added that work is underway to stamp out Ukrainian saboteurs from the territory of Russia and destroy them. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the President's Office of Ukraine, stressed that Ukraine is not directly related to these events. Spokesman for Ukraine's defense intelligence Andriy Yusov told Liga.net that the operation was conducted exclusively by Russian citizens. He informed that while both the Corps and the Legion are part of the armed forces of Ukraine, there are also political movements of the same name in Russia that operate autonomous from Ukraine's command. He stressed that the aim of their activities is the creation of a security zone on the border of Ukraine to protect Ukrainian citizens from shellings. Yusov added that the Russians began transporting nuclear weapons from a storage facility in Belgorod Oblast called Belgorod 22. Russian media informed that explosives were allegedly dropped from a drone on the building of the Russian security service FSB and the Ministry of Internal Affairs in the city of Belgorod itself, reports RBK Ukraine. U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller reacted to the events in the Belgorod region of Russia, reports Radio Liberty. He said that the United States does not encourage attacks beyond Ukrainian borders. At the same time, he reminded that it was Russia that started this war. The Russian Federation continues to attack civilians, targeting schools and hospitals, civilian infrastructure. Ukraine has the right to decide how it wants to conduct its military operations. But the aggressor in this war is Russia, stressed Miller. Ukrainian social media users reacted to the news about the events in the Belgorod region of Russia with jokes about the creation of a Belgorod People's Republic. This way, they mocked Russian narratives about the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics that Russia created in Ukraine in 2014, reports Union. They also reminded that the Russian Belgorod region in the early 20th century had mostly Ukrainian population and was called in Ukrainian manner Bilgorod. It was part of the independent Ukrainian state in 1918-1919. Some users joked that Ukraine just decided to liberate its southern region of Crimea by doing a raid via the eastern border. As the operation in Belgorod is conducted by the units of Ukraine's defense intelligence, some shared pictures of intelligence head Kyrylo Budanov as new governor of the Belgorod region. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This way more people would learn about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Josep Borrell informed that training of Ukrainian pilots on F-16s has already started, reports European Pravda. He also expressed hope that the delivery of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine will begin soon. Earlier, the White House stated that it will approve the provision of F-16 fighter jets for Ukraine, but only if they are not used for strikes on Russian territory. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky gave such guarantees at a meeting with Joe Biden this weekend. The US president has not yet made a final decision on whether the US will transfer the jets itself or it will be done by the allies. Portugal already stated that it won't give its own jets to Ukraine as it doesn't have many of them. At the same time, the media reported that the Netherlands wouldn't sell their F-16s to a private company as they planned before. It is expected that these planes may be given to Kyiv. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, an uncommercial initiative of just two people. To support us, you can rate us in the apps where you're listening to the podcast, share information about it on social media, or subscribe to our Patreon, link to which is in the description to this episode. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.